And hello, welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. Or wait, should I say hola, hola? Since everyone's speaking Spanish in the NASCAR community
Hola.
this week. Hola, hola. I should have practiced the opening in Spanish. That would have been kind of cringe. I don't know. It's something fun about it, but also kind of cringe. Like, aha, we're speaking Spanish this week. Like, something about that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but...
It's a little weird, but also that would have been fun to... Hola, hola. What's the Gay Racing Podcast in Spanish? I wonder what that is.
Don't ask me.
I don't speak Spanish.
We got a lot to talk about. Last week was really chill.
So chill. Just NASCAR Michigan.
This week, NASCAR made their Cup Series debut in Mexico City. Yeah. IndyCar had their race of the season. I was there in St. Louis.
So under the lights at Gateway. Then, in addition to that, the 24 Hours of Le Mans happened, which we'll touch on in the T a little bit later. F1 had some drama. We love F1 drama. Lando Norris crashes battling his teammate Oscar Piastri. Alex, packed episode. This is what we live for. It's still Pride Month. We have some really cool Pride Month stuff coming out this week, actually. Are we ready to kind of reveal that?
Yeah, this week we have Ryan Hines of Tricon Garage. He leads their communications department and their branding over there, the NASCAR Truck Series team. So that was such a fun conversation, Zach.
He was one of my more favorite conversations in terms of like getting to hear about what he does in his role at Tricon. That was cool. But when we asked him about how he feels about Pride this year, NASCAR, and the lack of it, I loved his answer. He had a really good answer. He did not have a filter, I guess, to say. You guys need to check it out. It should be out sometime on Tuesday, the same week that this episode's out. It was a really good interview. Of course, if you are one of our Patreon subscribers, you already got to watch it since you have access to episodes early. So he had a really good answer for our question. And I'm excited for you guys to check it out. It was really good.
And make sure you check out the Nate Stewart episode from last week as well, because that was a lot of fun. He's a racer in the Coca-Cola iRacing series. A lot of fun.
Well, Alex, let's get into it before you start yapping about, the episode's getting too long. And NASCAR.
We're already 2 minutes in. We got to go.
NASCAR made their, I guess, modern international debut in Mexico, or for the Cup Series in Mexico City. And let's talk about that a little bit, because I don't think we realized how important it is for NASCAR to have an international presence until seeing it happen right here in Mexico City this weekend, right?
Well, I don't think it hit me how important it was until Daniel Suarez won the Xfinity Series race.
That was the moment of the entire weekend for me, where it's like all of the issues with traveling here for all the teams and stuff. It is so worth it. And that doesn't even get into what Jeff Gluck and all of them said about just the Mexican fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I had goosebumps Saturday afternoon watching Daniel Suarez I was tearing up a little bit. I don't get emotional often over racing. I know, I think I had a single tear shed when Kyle Larson won the photo finish at Kansas or something, or when Joseph maybe won the Indy 500. But seeing Daniel Suarez win in his home country and get embraced by a crowd that they were all there for him, not just for him, but that's their favorite driver.
He's their guy.
It felt like it almost transcended like Dale Jr. winning like the Daytona 500. Like it was like a huge deal that you don't get to always it was like Helio Castroneves winning the Indy 500.
Right.
It was that kind of deal, even though you wouldn't think it is. It's an Xfinity race in Mexico City, but I don't think I can sit here and describe how big of a deal that was. And that doesn't even include what he had to go through to win that race. He crashed.
Yeah.
He had a backup car.
Right.
Like he went through all the trials and tribulations to get that win. But, we haven't even gotten to the Cup race yet. Just that was the moment of the weekend. And I'm so glad Daniel got to have that moment, right? We've been on here, Alex, and we've criticized Daniel Suarez just for him as a driver, his performance, really.
Well, he's in a contract year.
Yeah.
It's unknown if he's coming back next year. I'd say that's the core silly season story, is will Connor Zilish end up replacing him? Maybe they'll do a seat swap and Suarez will get the 9 car next year at JRM or something. in Xfinity,
Well,
but
I don't think that's a bad idea because remember, Daniel
a little
Suarez
seat swap
is
would be cool.
he's an Xfinity Series champion. Like
Right.
he's a really good race car driver. It's just this current spot for him in the Cup Series just isn't really
But
working out.
but
I
at the
guess.
same time, this weekend, if NASCAR is going to continue to go international, and I believe they should, having him in the Cup Series
Oh, and
is very monumental. And
he
I don't know, without his presence in the Cup Series, would this race have been as a big of a deal to those fans that were there?
it's a bit of a harder sell. I know I will say having Xfinity companion with the Cup Series in general, I think can make up for a lot of that. Like if Daniel Suarez was in the Xfinity race that same weekend, I think it's still fine. And just in general, like yeah, we saw Catherine Legg in the Cup race, but the Cup race, I feel like it's harder to attract more international drivers like to that
Mhm.
series and get them in a car. Whereas with the Xfinity series, I feel like it's a lot more accessible
Mhm.
since there's less money involved and hey, like and there's more part timers in the series and open schedules. So I love how the Xfinity series comes with Cup to this international event because I hope we see more international stars like come over and just give their hand, like Pato Award, for example, throw
Oh,
him
that would've been
into an
cool.
Xfinity car. That would have been a perfect opportunity if IndyCar wasn't racing this weekend,
Did
right?
you see the clip where I think it was after IndyCar qualifying, they
Yeah,
told
I
Pato,
saw
like,
that.
"Hey, Suarez is leading the Xfinity race."
That was from a
That was so cool.
Christopher. What's
DeHard.
his last name?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we saw him in Indy. Yeah, that was cool. And just let me mention it now. IndyCar needs to get their ass to Mexico City yesterday. They need to be
It
there.
If you guys thought the Suarez victory was huge for, like, the fan reaction, a Pato Award win in Mexico would go crazy.
IndyCar would race so good there. The racing would be interesting. That fan base is more accustomed to open wheel racing in the first place. Like,
Yeah.
God, IndyCar needs to get there. I just wanted to mention that before we move on to the Cup race because
Yeah.
God,
Well, big international weekend for NASCAR. Their first international race in a very, very long time. The Amazon broadcast, the last one was Richard Petty's Cup debut, which I found
where was that?
crazy.
Was that in like Canada or something?
I didn't catch where they said it, didn't look into it, but this was the first non-American NASCAR race weekend sweep since 2010, with Marcos Ambrose and Juan Pablo Montoya both
That's
winning
cool.
Watkins Glen.
Oh, that's cool though. I remember that weekend. That's really cool. I love these. Again, I think NASCAR having an international presence is so cool to me. Like obviously it's
Hmm.
not going to be F1 ever, but having drivers from all kind of like what IndyCar has where there's drivers all over the world competing in the series. I think that's something NASCAR should look at to strive for. Right? You're always
Yeah,
going to be American based, but it's just really cool to see a weekend won by two non-American drivers in a non-American place. It's just
yeah.
it makes it feel like so epic and worldly and I also wanted to note like just did you see that clip of Todd Gilliland like getting swarmed by
Yeah.
fans? What?
And there's a post on Twitter that was like, this is the same guy, Todd Gilliland, who could be at the Daytona 500, NASCAR's biggest race, and not even be acknowledged. And that is very true. It
I
wouldn't
think
even be like talked to.
I think we take for granted as well going to races, right? And I mean, I've complained about there's no IndyCar races near me, right? Well, there's no
Hmm.
IndyCar races near me. Well, at least I have some in my country. Like I went to the Indy 500. I had to drive 10 hours, sure, but I didn't have to cross a border to do it, right? There's, I think we underestimated the amount of NASCAR fans in Mexico that
Hmm.
either follow because of Daniel or they just follow because they love racing and
Well,
whatever.
think about it. There hasn't been a NASCAR race in Mexico City since 2008.
Right. Like they
And
have, they're
there was
starved.
a post on Twitter, as I think it was a reply to Jeff Gluck, that was like, or maybe it was just a post Jeff Gluck retweeted, but it was like this Kyle Busch fan, and it was during practice, and he was so emotional, like, "Oh my gosh, I saw Kyle Busch in person. He drove right by me." Like we, you're right, Zach. I think American NASCAR fans would take that for granted because it's like, well, yeah, of
And we
course,
can go to
Kyle Busch is
multiple
rare.
races a year. Like I have
Yeah.
two tracks in my state that I can go to. Like it's it's just something that really warms my heart. And it's like Jeff Gluck talked about it more on his podcast because this is where I'm getting a lot of this from. I I just love that we almost have a new perspective on NASCAR
Mhm.
because they're not these fans. They're not complaining about the next gen car on road courses,
They're just
right?
happy they're there at all.
They're crying over seeing these cars in person and seeing these stars in person. That is like whatever negativity that you want to try to stir up about this weekend, I don't even want to hear it. Because in my opinion, this is on the level of Chicago in terms of this event
Definitely.
was not only planned well, but the execution was perfect. Well, I guess not perfect because there's some travel issues, but like I thought this was such a successful event, and it's a shame if we don't come back next year. According to Ben Kennedy, he has nothing to announce. So
I agree. They should be in Mexico City. They should also be in Canada. I think the
I
Cup
think,
Series,
yeah,
it should be not just a United States series, but a North American series. I'm not saying we need
definitely.
to have multiple Mexico races or multiple Canada races,
No, 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 no,
but it
no,
would
no.
make perfect sense to have a Canadian race and a Mexican race to really be a North
Montreal,
American series.
yeah, Montreal and Mexico City not only are two really good racetracks, world class racetracks, they would be perfect fits for the Cup Series schedule, and I really hope they become staples. Both of them. I think we can have two
Right.
international races, right? Um, that would be such a huge deal, and get some other Canadian superstars that you could have guest star in the Xfinity race or whatever, right?
Yeah. And by the way, the travel issues that were had was not anything to do with like Mexico or getting across the border. It was like just planes were having issues
Yeah, I
taking
was
off.
just
So it wasn't even like travel across the border issues. It was just plane issues.
I think the only thing that could have maybe helped is like having an off weekend the week before and or
Yeah.
having a race closer the week before, like we kind of I think we talked about it last week, but they didn't know Mexico would fill this slot last year and stuff. So
Yeah.
um but
Well,
yeah, I listen, Alex, I could sit here and talk all day about how wonderful this event was, but
mhm.
I guess we should talk about the race, the Cup Series race, right?
Yeah. Shane Van Gisbergen gets another win. And you compared this race to Chicago. First race, it's another like monumental moment for NASCAR. Shane Van Gisbergen is the one who gets the job done. And Zach, last week, you, although SVG was your fantasy pick, you were very concerned about him. You said maybe we're overestimating him,
Well,
we're
I see
overhyping
his
him.
I
You
see his
said he was never
performance.
going to possibly win again in Cup. That
Listen,
aged very well.
I said some stupid things in my time here on the Gay
Yeah.
Racing podcast. My perspective was like I saw his performance at Coda and I saw his performance at like the Roval. He just in any basically any road course that NASCAR had already went to before. It's just like, yeah, he's good. Don't get me wrong, he's good. He might compete to
Hmm.
win, but there's no guarantees. I think Mexico is just one of these examples where everyone's off their game, no one's prepared. It's about who's just the most adaptable to this, and SVG was the most adaptable, just like that 2023 Chicago race.
Yep.
And
There was some rain again, too.
I think part of SVG's the hardest thing about stock car racing at road courses, I think, are the braking zones, and I think that's what SVG just excels in. They Prime was doing a decent job talking about his technique with the clutch and how not only does he use it to shift to downshift, but he uses it to rotate the car. I don't know what goes into that because I just don't. But
Hmm.
I think Mexico City braking was the topic of the whole day, right? Because with the thinner air, uh, since the altitude tie, they had to take care of their brakes all day yesterday. And that long front straightaway into turn one, you have to be careful on the brakes. There's two other like really heavy braking zones on the track. It was a recipe for SVG getting the largest margin of victory since Texas in 2009.
And that was a fuel
It's
mileage race.
fuel
Yeah.
mileage race. I remember that. Kurt Busch won it. Yeah, it's impressive, especially since we had stages and it was a 55 lap run ish to the end.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I mean, that just shows the talent. That shows I'm a fool for underestimating him this weekend, honestly.
Hmm.
I thought that, everyone, all these other Cup Series drivers like Christopher Bell, Ty Gibbs, who had a really fast car, they're good too. But SVG, man, he just puts himself on another level in some of these races, and yesterday was
Yeah.
one of them. It was really cool to see. And I'm not
And
really sad that the race was kind of boring at the end because I got to see an ass kicking, you know?
yeah. Well, this was also the largest margin of victory on a road course since Riverside in 1979. And so we haven't seen a win with this margin on a road course in a very, very long time. And Zach, there's a little bit of controversy with this because,
Oh, of course there is.
the NASCAR playoffs are a thing, and he SVG was 33rd in points going into this race, and one of our Patreon members, Chris, wants to know how we feel about a winner very low in the point standings getting instant access to the playoffs. We talked a bit about this last year with Harrison Burton winning Daytona. How do we feel about that? And is this similar to Harrison Burton winning at Daytona?
Um, Matt Weaver made a good tweet. He compared, someone mentioned it to him, and I believe Matt said like winning a road course with the skill that SVG has crafted in his
Hmm.
long career, before NASCAR versus Harrison Burton winning somewhat of a lottery super speedway race, right?
Hmm.
There's a key difference there that I will admit, right? However, I do understand the frustration. I just don't think today is the time to be talking about it. When
I agree.
one, it's a thing that we've talked about plenty before with the playoffs,
Hmm.
right? I criticized the Harrison Burton point. I just didn't do it the day after he won. I did it in the off season when we were brainstorming new playoff formats. I think
Right.
it takes away from like Harrison Burton's win. I feel like people took away from it because of the playoff thing. Like, no, just enjoy that Wood Brothers got their historic 100th win in NASCAR.
Exactly.
That's how I felt about it.
It's a cool moment that should be celebrated. The Harrison Burton one was like that, and then this one, like SVG, huge win in Mexico. Yeah, it gets him into the playoffs, but like I said with the Harrison Burton win back in September, I think this is still very, very cool. And at the same time, the playoffs, it's 16 drivers. Who's going to get lose out on a spot? I think it's like what Michael McDowell
It's like
is like
Chris
right there
Buescher,
on the cut line.
Ryan Preece,
Like,
like
listen, those guys weren't going to win the championship anyway. So, one slot, two slots for a wild card winner, that's fine. It's fun. That's why SVG was tabbed to do a full season. So, Trackhouse is going to get a whole bunch of money back because they hired SVG to win on these road courses, and it's going to pay off. Even if it gets eliminated in the first round, you get a whole bunch of money just for making that first round.
and
I
that's
think
what's
it's
also
fine.
kind of cool about it. It's something that's you know, I hate the playoffs, don't get me wrong. It's something unique about NASCAR though in terms of Shane Van Gisbergen was hired as a specialist. And we don't see that in other motors. Well, we kind of see it in IndyCar sometimes with like oval specialists, but like SVG was hired to win at a road course and get his team to the playoffs, and he did it. There's something cool about that. Am I
Yeah.
wrong? Like yes, it's gimmicky. I'm not saying it's not gimmicky, and I'm not saying that it's not ridiculous at the same time. He should. There's no way Shane Van Gisbergen should be competing
But
for a championship under
he's not going
normal
to win the
circumstances.
championship, though. Like,
No,
I feel like that's not a bold take,
no,
especially because the Roval's not in the first round. He's going to have
no.
to make it through that first round. Even if he does, wins the Roval, what are the odds that he would make it out of the round of 8? Like, I just don't see that happening.
I do think though. I mean, when we get those playoff media pictures, later this year, these are the 16 stars of the NASCAR season this year. It's almost
Mhm.
like the it's like an all-star race almost. Like these are the stars that have won races this year and they're big deals, and SVG is a star.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be competing for a championship. I agree with y'all. I just don't think we need to be having this conversation right now because
Yeah.
nothing's going to change anyways. And I don't know. Like we saw AJ Allmendinger do similar things. Now I will say, NASCAR had a rule in the past to keep this from happening. The top 30 rule.
And I think the problem with that rule was it only blocked like 5 cars. So it was
But
just kind of
SVG would
stupid.
be 30th right now. Like he'd be, and Harrison Burton would
Mhm.
have never gotten in. Like, so I don't. Maybe we shouldn't have gotten rid of that rule.
Yeah.
That's just my thought. I
Yeah.
don't know. I
I
don't know if
was
y'all
ag
disagree.
I was against them changing that at first too, but now I'm like, I don't. There's
I
no
don't think
reason
it
for it.
matters because it's just a Mickey Mouse championship, anyways. But either way, SVG winning, it does take a spot. It does take a spot from somebody.
From like
And
Michael McDowell, Ryan Preece, whoever
well,
else is
yeah,
in 16th,
sure.
it's fine.
But
It's fine.
it's going to be a big deal when we get down to Daytona. Like it's going to be a big deal. But also SVG might. Well, we got like 3 road courses left. He might start racking up playoff points and win
And
more races.
that'd be the scenario where he could actually advance through pretty far. And I think that'd be a cool storyline. He's still not going to be a championship favorite because he's not going to go out unless something crazy happens and he starts really like the ovals really click more and he's getting better at the ovals. Unless all of a sudden he has like top 5 speed and he gets all these wins and makes it to the championship 4, there's not going to be an upset championship winner with
Yeah,
SVG. That'd be crazy.
yeah, and
But
that's fine. I mean, I don't know. I just don't care to talk about it anymore. We need to make radical changes for the playoffs, and it's not SVG's fault. Like it's not
well,
SVG's fault.
even
Let
then,
him enjoy his
I'm
moment.
not as sternly against the playoffs as you are. I think it's fine.
Oh
Um,
well, that's your opinion.
Need a 3-race finale. Anyway, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. said he will beat Carson Hocevar's ass when he's back in the United States. And my
Right?
only comment on this is I hope Ricky brings out the ass beating shorts from the All Star race
That
last year.
the yellow ass beating shorts. He's gonna roll up to Carson Hocevar's house and those yellow ass shorts. Oh my god. My question is why wait? Well, I actually have two questions. One, why wait? Like you had him right there. Tell him to get out of his car. Maybe I don't know. Carson's really tall. Carson's really tall. Us tall boys can get it. And number two, where do I watch?
Where do I watch?
I will pay for that.
Live on Prime.
They should
Yeah,
do that. Box. They need to set up a boxing match next week for the Prime pre-race show. I
man.
don't know. Ricky does training. He's physically fit. Carson Hocevar, he just streams on Twitch all. I don't even know what he does. I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested. So let's talk about this for real though, because he says he's going to beat his ass. Why say that? This is the second time he's wronged you in the last 3
It's a
weeks.
lot of talking and not a lot of
There's a lot of
beating
talking.
ass.
I know, right? I normally skip the talking part. Let's get to the action. Like he's going like let's teach him a lesson. Like I just don't. I'm frustrated because this is the Ross Chastain thing that was going
And
on.
it's
It's like
not even just Stenhouse. Like several drivers have said this about Carson specifically, and nothing has
yes,
happened.
right. And you had your chance. Now, what if he said when we get back to the states? Which like, why does he? Why does that matter?
He also
Like,
said, I'll see him at Pocono, but you're not going to wreck someone at Pocono.
well,
I'd hope not. It's kind
Corey
of a
LaJoy
dangerous
did.
place to
So
do
I
that.
don't know. I don't know. Uh, he. God, I will say Carson. Like Carson, definitely, it was an accident. Like him getting into Stenhouse. It was just he messed up his braking into again, that's the hardest thing about stock cars on road courses, right? Just your brakes can lock up and you're screwed, right?
Yeah.
But it was late in the race and you should have a rhythm and Ricky has every right to be mad. I don't want to be Carson in this situation because he made a mistake in it. He messed up the race of the one guy he did not need to mess with again.
He messed with him
So
a lot. I watched the highlight or like the race and I was skimming through it. The 47 and 77 were together a lot.
Ricky needs to do something about this. I just don't know.
Someone does. Like, I'm not even like anti Hocevar. Like, I like the kid, but
Like,
this has
well,
been
he
a
needs to.
thing for a while now.
Ricky needs to put him in the wall in terms of like if Carson is on your outside, you need to drive like he's not there. That kind of thing. Like you need to make his life miserable when he's racing you. I don't
Now
know.
let's talk about some general notables and shoutouts. Christopher Bell finished second in this race. Chase Elliott got third. Bell led a bit at the start of stage 3 before SVG retook the lead.
Christopher
Be-
Bell is
Bell is like low key underrated in
in
a
terms of
way.
road courses. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like he's kind of like Larson in a way where we don't really call him like a road course ringer, but he's consistently very good at road courses. And Bell qualified really bad. He did
Hmm.
the Xfinity race for Sam Hunt, and they were talking on TV how him practicing the Xfinity car on Saturday kind of took him out of his rhythm for the Cup car. I mean, they're two very different cars. Like the shifting's different. Like there's two completely different ways to shift. I can't imagine doing both those cars on the same weekend. So that kind of hurt Christopher on Saturday. Started
Yeah.
from the back, comes back and finishes second, right? And remember, he won Coda earlier this year and that amazing drive to the finish. Yeah, Christopher Bell. I mean, we kind of criticize his intermediate track performance, but on these short tracks and even road courses now, he's got it very fast.
Yeah. Alex Bowman finished 4th after being sore from his big crash last week at Michigan. Just wanted to shout that out. Cole
Also very
Custer.
underrated at road courses.
Yeah, he won Chicago last year. Cole Custer. I was surprised when I looked at the results, finished 8th. I forget he's even in the Cup Series.
And he was running up front a lot yesterday.
He was.
And I know it got mixed up from strategy at points, but he had track position like all day.
Yeah.
That's weird. Like, what? I don't
Random.
ever remember him being a road course guy ever either.
Mm-mm.
So I don't. Maybe they just got lucky. I don't know.
And then
I don't know.
Ty Gibbs led some laps, and he seemed to be the main competition for SVG, but he ended up finishing 11th.
So that caution that came out, shoot, it was in the middle of stage 3. Ty pitted early, and the caution came out, and that bit him, I believe. Was it stage 3 or was it stage 2? I don't know. But they pitted early, and then the caution came out, and it screwed him, right? Because I've talked about Ty Gibbs on road courses before, very fast. 2 weeks in a row, he was really close to winning, or at least he had a car competitive enough to win. That's got to be frustrating for him.
If Ty Gibbs gets a win this year, it's going to be on a road course.
Kind of like Chase Elliott, like when Chase Elliott got his first one on a road course. My thing with Ty Gibbs, which that's good for him because there's a bunch of road courses left before we start the playoffs, but his only hope to make the playoffs is probably to get a win. That's going to be a very interesting story to follow, right? Yeah. Very, very curious to see what happens with that because he's actually been showing really good form. It's just these past 2 weeks. Maybe we'll go to Pocono and we won't hear from him, but yeah, I don't know. He's hungry. He's hungry. That's good to see.
And our Patreon member Phil has a comment on Amazon Prime's TV coverage. He calls it outstanding. He said the addition of showing the turn numbers on screen was helpful. They did this a lot in like practice and qualifying, I noticed. And Phil goes on to say, sometimes I feel lost during road course racing, so it's helpful as a reference for where things were happening on the track. And the drone shot over the stadium section was very cool.
I like that because I like that comment, Phil, because I think we don't hear enough about that in terms of, like, for example, when I watch a race, like when I used to watch IndyCar races at certain road courses that I never got to drive in a sim or something, I would kind of feel lost. Like St. Pete. I've never driven St. Pete in any sim. Sometimes when I watch a St. Pete race, I'm like, wait, where are they on the track? Like, Prime and I think IndyCar Fox, they do this too. Like they'll have the track map up with like little driver numbers. Sometimes that's my favorite in terms of, kind of giving the audience a sense of direction or location on the track. So, and I will say Prime, they did a really good job showing the battles going on through the pack. And I just want to compliment this actual racetrack, right? Because it's a decent track for F1 and stuff, but I think for stock car racing, something that the new Coda layout kind of got us hooked on. Parts of this racetrack race like Martinsville. Like it's short track racing. Like Dale Jr. yesterday even said, that's just short track racing. Like putting these stock cars in these really slow sections where it's like they can beat and bang each other and not wreck each other. Like that is really, really good. It's stuff that we don't really see at Watkins Glen or even Sonoma, because Sonoma's just almost too technical, but Mexico City just throws in some of these slower sections after these fast sections, and they just create some really, really good racing. The stadium section yesterday was entertaining to watch. Just turns 1, 2, and 3 were really entertaining to watch the cars get through there. The S's even. It's just a really good road course.
I really liked it.
Stock cars. I was surprised with how well it was.
The stadium section's so cool. I love that part. Like when I play the F1 game, that part is so cool.
It's just so cool.
You brought up Watkins Glen, and that brings me to this question. Did this race feel too long? Like the stages add a lot of time. This track is the same length pretty much as Watkins Glen, the version they use for NASCAR. Watkins Glen's a little bit shorter, but is 10 laps shorter, but has a lot of faster sections, such as the straightaways. So I feel like if we're going to come back here next year, maybe a bit less laps?
Remember when the first year Chicago, the plan was 100 laps, which ended up getting shortened, but like because of rain and stuff, it's like I can't believe they thought they were going to do 100 laps around Chicago. I
and
mean,
have enough time in general
the lap
before it got
times weren't
dark.
that long at Chicago, but still, it's a slow street course. Like, I don't know, y'all. Because yeah, Watkins Glen, a 90 lap race at Watkins Glen, like that one race that barely had any cautions, it took like 2 hours. Maybe it could be a little bit longer than that, but I don't know. Yesterday's race taking like it was like 3 hours and change. It just felt a little bit draggy. I think part of that was the lap one caution for rain, which why are we still doing that? We've had plenty of rain races already. Let the teams put on rain tires. They're big boys and girls. They can figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, that's my number one problem with NASCAR rain racing. Like, they just don't let them figure it out. We have so many smart crew chiefs. Oh my gosh. Anyways, uh, and then like the stage cautions that like they can drag on and add a lot of like just time. That race felt a little bit too long yesterday. Now, of course, SVG was running away with it at the end. That could have kind of added to that feeling as well. I'm
Well,
curious to see if anyone else echoes my
when
feelings. So that
I
race
when I
did feel too long.
skimmed the race, I rewatched most of the race on Prime today. It felt like it was taking a long time. Maybe the stage lengths. I feel like the stages were like way in the beginning, and the last stage was really, really long, which I'm fine with.
I think
It
that's good for
just,
strategy, but
yeah, it just felt like wow,
what if we just
really
didn't have stage breaks? Like,
what a concept.
I'm
God,
just sorry,
I
but we were
wish.
wasting all this time under caution. And again, wasting time to throw the yellow flag for rain when we don't need to.
Yeah,
Because my another thing with that is we had Cindric and Busher stay out on slicks, which was stupid. I don't think they should have done that. Um, but like I felt like they put themselves in so much danger being in the pack with slick tires. Like, no, let them gamble by keeping the race green, and then if they do make a mistake and they stay out on slicks for too long, well, at least they're not in a pack of cars ready to wreck everybody, right?
yeah,
Like, I don't know. I feel like we dodged a bullet yesterday with that, even though we had a weird incident with Kyle Busch and Larson and stuff. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, overall, pretty great weekend for NASCAR in Mexico
So
City.
cool.
And another series that had a pretty great weekend was IndyCar at Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway in St. Louis. What a race. This was by far race of the year. I was at the race. Wow. They moved this race tonight. It was originally scheduled to be Sunday, going head to head with NASCAR
Right.
Mexico, mind you.
Not a good idea.
No, but they changed that. It started around 7:30 local time, and I think that just made the world of difference because when I bought tickets for this race, the ticket map was empty. I could sit wherever I wanted. Wherever. I got tickets like 2, 3 weeks before the race, and that was like 80% full. I've been going to Gateway for IndyCar since 2020. I have not seen it be that full ever. It, really, really impressive how they managed to turn around the sales, it appears. A home run, I think. And this race needs to stay at a night race because this race was just phenomenal from start to finish. They had the outside lane working.
All
This
night.
felt like a peak IndyCar race from like 2019 to 2021. And that's like my peak love for IndyCar was in that era. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is the IndyCar I love and know. It's back.
I have a few
And
points.
yeah,
One, have you ever seen a bad gateway night race for IndyCar?
no, but I've seen
I,
bad gateway races in the day.
I and I don't even know what goes into that with the temperature and the weather or whatever, but I just here's what I'm trying to say. Last night, IndyCar leadership needs to look at last night. Because here's my idea. What went right last night? We were at an oval. There were mistakes and wrecks. Not saying that I want more wrecks, but I'm saying like this we didn't have a boring like follow the leader kind of race, right? You had lap
Mm-hmm.
traffic, drivers making mistakes,
You had
strategy
fuel
was all over
strategy.
the place. It was at night. The fans turned out. The racing was good. Sunday night prime time on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Can we capture this in a bottle? Because here's my idea. Because I also echo the vibes because we used to race at Texas in June at night for IndyCar, and the vibes were great. Here's what I want to put in a bottle. I want IndyCar to capture the primetime Sunday night summer slot for Fox and race on a bunch of ovals throughout the summer. That's what I want them to do. I
Yeah.
want the Indy 500 to be an opener to the summer of IndyCar oval racing. Like, because that was amazing last night. Like, we need to capture that in a bottle and again, do it more weekends. It's
Please.
what IndyCar needs to be. It's not going to these random street circuits.
More
It's
ovals?
that.
Like, more
Oh my god.
ovals.
That
Oh
was
my gosh.
perfect.
This was the IndyCar 11 no, as I said.
Yes.
Just start to finish was just fantastic.
Not competing with NASCAR. Again, Sunday
Correct.
night
And
primetime slot.
look, I know I would prefer Saturday night, but if Sunday night is what will make TV happy, do Sunday nights. Like,
Just do it.
that crowd, I did not think that crowd was going to show up. I, I am shocked still at how fantastic that crowd was.
Mm-hmm.
Do Sunday nights, maybe do like an hour earlier if you can.
Yeah.
That way people can like get
That
home.
sunset
But
was
like,
beautiful.
it was, oh my gosh, it was gorgeous.
Gosh.
And wow, let's talk about this race. Kyle Kirkwood won his third race of the season. We still only have 2 winners this year: Alex Palou, Kyle
That's
Kirkwood.
crazy.
But
That's crazy.
on paper, that sounds boring. But Kyle Kirkwood, this is his first win on an oval. Alex Palou also got his first win on the oval this year. Interesting.
True.
And Kyle Kirkwood was not like a dominant car, right? But think about it. We're going to talk about the Penske's. All 3 Penske's have issues. David Malukas has an issue after contact with Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle Kirkwood was roughly 5th or 6th all night. So he was just the next best guy.
Whoa, hold up. Remember Andretti at the Indy 500 with Ericsson and they just came out of nowhere?
Yep.
Ooh, same thing.
Yep.
Just, they're cooking on these last stops, these final pit stops. They're cooking.
Yep.
I just realized that, the connection.
On the last stop, remember Scott Dixon was leading when the caution came out with about 50, 60 to go. And he just had a really long fuel run. This is going to be really close on fuel. So we saw several guys like Callum Ilott, Santino Ferrucci, Felix Rosenquist. They stretched out their fuel. And Scott Dixon, I thought he was going to win this race again.
Oh my God. I was groaning. I was like, God, not another Scott Dixon win. Come on.
Another fuel mileage Scott Dixon win.
I don't like when he wins like that. I don't know. Something about that.
He's so good at it, though. But
I know.
He had the whole field to lap down because he was the last one to pit, right? And then he pits and everyone else gets to wave around. Okay. But on that last run, Dixon led for a bit. And then, people started pitting. If I'm not mistaken, Kirkwood pitted earlier. I didn't get home till 3 a.m., so I've been very sleepy. But my thing is that Kirkwood had a really good pit stop and he leapfrogged Dixon, and then he got a round of Malukas, and there was that caution with Malukas as well.
He pitted, I think he pitted later than Malukas because Malukas was like, he had momentum on him and was trying to get around him.
That's right.
And so Kirkwood was coming off pit road, and then that's when David got in. I don't know if Kirkwood kind of like was up the track a little bit too much. They just got too close to each other, and David got into the wall, and then IndyCar was like, "Oh, caution, caution, caution! Oh my God, someone got loose!" Oh my God.
Yeah, I feel like that was a bit weird to have a caution there. That was before these final pit stops. Yeah. That was the last caution.
Right.
But
yeah.
Just it was so fun to follow and blurring on when people pitted and everything. But Dixon just did not have a good car in race trim, which I found really interesting.
Ganassi in general. Palou was like
14th all night.
He's lucky there was attrition because he would not have finished top 10, I don't think, without attrition.
Palou was about to go a lap down because when Joseph got crashed, he was right behind Alex Palou about to go a lap down.
Oh, of course, Alex Palou doesn't get involved because he's Alex Palou, Golden Horseshoe. But okay, that's fine.
But Kyle Kirkwood really did have to earn this win. Like I said, he was 5th or 6th all night.
And he talked about a lot how he didn't want to be known as this street course merchant.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. And that's something about the IndyCar series that's unique. There's all these different track types. And I think we just talked about with SVG how he's our road course specialist in NASCAR. Well, Kyle Kirkwood and all IndyCar drivers, Scott McLaughlin said it last year when he got his first oval win. You want to win on an oval in the IndyCar series. That's what this
Yeah.
series was born on. It's what it's all about, right? So it's a big deal to get your first oval win. It's a really big deal for Kyle Kirkwood. And I'm glad he echoed his frustrations with being a street course merchant. It's just now he's a city merchant. He wins in the big
Sure.
cities.
So Road America's next. So we'll
Nope.
be back to Pillow.
Nope. Nope. Nashville Super Speedway. It's not in Nashville. It's like a little bit out.
But it's named after Nashville. So that might
I
be a
don't
toss
know.
up.
Yeah. So any city track, oval or street course, Richmond. If we go to Richmond, Kyle Kirkwood, he's sailing away, sailing into the sunset. Oh my gosh. Let's watch it happen.
I also want to shout out Christian Rasmussen. He got his first podium in his career. He was very fast all night.
He was about to take Pato Award to the grave. Like he was trying to get around him so bad. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. He was looking outside, inside. I was so scared.
Yeah, he has no fear. We saw that at the Indy 500 too. Rasmussen,
he was putting it on Newgarden at the Indy 500 like a year ago. Oh my God, he's one of those guys that he's gonna get this random win at one of these oval races one day. If we had more oval races, I'd be more confident saying that. But yeah, he's got some talent, man. He's fun to watch.
Well, we mentioned David Malukas. He led early and he started third or fourth, and he took the lead like right away from Will Power.
That was cool.
And he led for a while, then he ran third to fifth for quite a bit. He had contact with Kirkwood, as I said, and put him in the wall, and he finished 12th or 11th. And that's frustrating for him, I would think, but still really strong run for AJ Foyt Racing. They haven't won a race since, I believe, 2013. It would have been with Bourdais, right? Or Sato, one of those two.
It was either Sato or Bourdais.
Yeah. But there's a lot of rumors going around. We've talked about it before that Malukas might be going to Penske. And that first lap, this is all I could think about, or that first little run, Malukas getting right around Will Power. And then they were 1-2, Malukas and Will Power. I'm like, oh man, I know that this is on their minds. They know. If the rumors are accurate, you know that they know, and that this is all that's on their mind. Will Power hitting the wall, even though it was a tire, the optics are not great.
McQueen is fading. He's fading. That's literally what happened yesterday. I think Will Power was driving his car too hard, and he blew his tire trying to catch Malukas.
Oh, damn.
That's literally what happened in the movie.
That is what happened in the movie Cars 3.
Because Will got out of his car, and he said, like, he thought the loads that they were carrying in the corner, he was shocked that, like, from the day before that the tires were withstanding it. So there just must have been something with the way his car was set up or the way he was driving it. The tires did not want to be along for the ride. Maybe it's the Penske curse, because yesterday was just curse for Penske. So weird. So interesting. This Malukas Power situation,
because we are mid-June and Will Power does not have a contract extension. We are getting pretty late in the year.
You know, these days contracts can be written pretty creatively, I feel like, in terms of, like, you know, is Malukas in a situation, because I don't know if it was from Townsend Bell on TV or something on Twitter, but it's like Malukas has like a loose kind of deal where it's like, if he can somehow get, if he performs well for the rest of the season, that Penske seat might be his next year. If not, maybe the year after. Like, it's kind of like a flexible thing.
Yeah.
That's just what, I don't know if it's true. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Because it's probably the number one silly season story to follow for the rest of the IndyCar season. So
yeah. And I've seen a lot of doubters about it saying like it's not a story just because David Land talks about it. It's not just David Land talking about it.
It's not. They're talking about it on TV. What do you mean?
There's something to it. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens, especially because Power hasn't got an extension yet. That is a red flag.
Oh,
yeah.
And shout out to Connor Daly, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I thought Connor Daly was going to win this race.
Oh my God. What a year
There
he's
was
having.
there's like 10 people I thought were going to win this race at a point.
And that
And
yeah, that's what was great about
yeah,
yesterday's race because you really didn't know who was gonna win,
no.
ever.
And it would have been deserving, whoever it was it Malukas, Daly, Newgarden at a point, then Kirkwood. There was a point I thought Callum Ilott was going to win this race because he didn't pit till 2 to go. That would have been a
Well, Fox
crazy
Fox,
upset.
they thought Fox didn't know what the hell was going on with the fuel strategy at the end, by the
Oh,
way.
really?
Flop of the week. They were acting like they didn't know because they were starting to hype up Ilott and
Well,
Rosenquist.
I knew at the track, it was either 50 or 60 to go when that caution came out for Malukas, that if they were going to try it, a lot of people were going to try to
Well,
go on fuel.
yes.
And there were about 6 of them who hadn't pitted until at the
Right.
very end. And Santino Ferrucci was the leading one of those. And in my head, so I brought a friend of mine with me, and it was our very first race. I was explaining all this to her. I'm like, if they're going to make it, they're going to be running super, super slow. So it might be worthwhile for others to actually pit and make up a whole bunch of time, as Kirkwood and others did. It was just, I felt like if you were going to make it, you'd be going too slow.
No,
And
yeah,
that's what was
because Ilott was
happening.
about to get passed.
Yeah, exactly. That's what was happening with Callum Ilott. He was going super, super slow.
Yeah.
That
There's no
Kirkwood
way.
was only like a corner behind with 2 to go.
Yeah. The
And
window
he had
was
made up
too
over a lap. Yeah.
they had too much to try to save.
I
I
think the
just feel
win,
like
but if a caution had come out, let's say with 5 to go, maybe they red flag it because that's kind of a thing they do sometimes now.
true. Yeah, if a
If a
caution were to
caution
come
had
out,
come
you're
out
right. Yeah.
with 5 to go, Callum Ilott could have won this race. Or
Yeah.
if it came out like 15 to go, I forget when Santino exactly pitted. Santino Ferrucci
If there were
maybe could have won
cautions in
this.
general, they would have been able to save more fuel. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
I
I
just
had a great time following the fuel strategy. I wish you
well,
were there
I
with me because, like, you were so locked in at Indy. I think you would have ate this up in person.
oh yeah.
Like, I was so invested.
I think again, Fox just I don't know. There's a disconnect with the strategy in Fox for some reason. Like I compare it to the prime broadcast of the Michigan fuel mileage race and NASCAR. Like
That was awesome.
they were so on top of it, but then Fox here for IndyCar, I just feel like they don't. It's like they don't have pit reporters, even though they do. Like,
Hmm.
go ask the crew chief if y'all are good on fuel. Like, what? What are we doing?
Right.
I don't know. I'm left frustrated after watching that race yesterday because,
Yeah.
and then they were doing this NASCAR thing where they have these weird camera angles. Like, we missed when those guys like Rosenquist and Ilott, we missed when they were pitting.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. And then like we were riding on board with Kirkwood when
Mhm.
Rasmussen was all over Pato O'Ward.
Oh, no.
Like, and that's not even the final lap. It was like 3-2 to go. Like I was I'm I think the honeymoon period for Fox is over.
Mhm.
And I think they are covering IndyCar how they cover motorsports.
Yeah.
How they cover all their motorsports. I'm just gonna
I
say that.
still think they're doing better than I would have anticipated, but it's still not good.
They're doing better than NASCAR, what they do for NASCAR.
Yeah.
But
We'll
I
see
think
how
that's
year
because
2
of the
is.
booth. I think that's because of the booth.
True.
I think the booth is like the whole working miracle of the whole operation at this point.
Yeah. Well, let's shift over to Team Penske. We touched on Will Power already. He ended up getting a pole, by the way, extending his all-time record on that. And he hadn't got a
That's cool.
pole since Iowa a couple of years ago. But Scott McLaughlin also DNF'd. He had some. What mechanical issue was it? Did Fox ever say what it was?
Scott didn't know when they interviewed him, and I didn't look. I didn't
Okay.
look, so
Okay.
I have no idea.
Well, if you know, let us know in the comments or on
I
social
won't-
media.
I'm gonna look right now actually because I wonder. Surely it's not the same issue that what's this? What that Joseph had at Indy, right? Like fuel pressure.
I don't
Like,
know. I don't know.
that's just what I'm a little like worried for Penske right now because the reliability does not look very good for them.
Yeah. Did you find what it is?
No, I guess I should read the article.
I mean, McLaughlin was kind of running the right round where Kirkwood was toward the latter half of the race.
Something in the left rear. So it must have been
Okay.
chassis or suspension related.
His pit box was right in front of where I was sitting, and they were just kind of looking at it. They didn't like look at the whole car. They didn't really look anywhere specific, so I wasn't sure what happened there. But anyway, let's talk about Joseph Newgarden because He was leading at halfway, led about around 25 laps or so. Once he got the lead, it looked like it was lights out and he was just going to run away with it. But you have to make it to the finish. It's not 160, or not 130, it's 260 laps. It has to lead at halfway, and Louis Foster is crashing in turn 4, is up along the wall, and then he spins down in front, and Joseph Newgarden just has nowhere to go. I don't think he even knew he was there because he was behind Alex Palou
Yeah,
trying to
that's the
pass
thing.
him.
Yeah, when you're behind another car, it's hard to see in front of that car. It just
Yeah,
it cut a lot of the window in terms of Joseph being able to see where his car was going. I mean, I've had something like that happen to me in iRacing a few times. It sucks.
yeah,
Yeah, in hindsight, you could have done something different to avoid it, but in that moment, you have to react. And Joseph got put in a bad spot, and he
yeah.
got a
Uh,
horrible wreck.
And there was a lot of talk I saw specifically on Twitter, like the caution took a long time to come out.
And the TV booth was saying that too. I don't
And
get
but my
that.
thing with that is that I think the reason why the Malukas caution happened so early is because they were concerned after what happened with Foster. Because it was a very similar kind of thing because the car was
Yeah.
running up high. So they were like, "Oh, we need to throw a yellow right now in case he, spins down the track." I think that's why the Malukas caution was so instant. I think this they were like, "Oh, maybe he can like limp it around the track or something," but then he spun and hit Joseph.
Well, yeah, because after he tapped the wall, his suspension was broke, and I don't
Yeah,
think people realize that. But I don't know when the yellow was out when Joseph hit him. I think
yeah,
I don't know because TV was acting like the yellow was came out too late.
yeah.
I know it's IndyCar and I know this is really dangerous racing,
And it's
but
something to be talking about. Like,
yes,
could this have been prevented? It's a scary crash that
it's
happened.
still a human pressing a button, and also, um, I want to see cautions for wrecks. I don't want to see cautions for people getting loose
Yeah.
and
Well,
tapping the wall. I just don't. I'm
so
sorry.
let's talk about this because, as I said, Joseph was trying to pass Pillow, was right behind Pillow, and then Pillow swerved to avoid it, and then Joseph went the other way, thinking he was probably going to try passing him. I'm guessing, and just again nowhere to go. Went airborne, went upside down. Uh, Scary crash. Got on the pit wall there. I feel like this could have been a worse crash, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Joseph was okay, and Slay of the Week to the AMR safety team because they were there within 3 seconds. And that, like, his car was just like still like gliding a bit. And then as soon as it stopped, they had a person there talking to him, making sure
That
he
was
was
impressive.
okay. Very impressive. They always managed to do that. Um, at the track,
Yeah, where did you sit?
uh, I was past the start finish toward turn 1, directly in front of Scott McLaughlin's pit. I know you weren't
Okay.
there to know, but like I was right pretty further
Yeah,
down.
tell me, when did you notice Joseph was
Well,
wrecking?
we're right in front of a screen too. And it was just an onboard. It said New Garden and it was just like sparks. I was like, I had my hand on my mouth, just like shocked for a minute. Everyone else stood up. I sat down. I did not get up. I'm just like processing
Oh.
this in my head. I'm like, is he okay? That's what I wanted to know.
Well,
Uh
I was worried for you in the moment when
yeah.
that happened because I'm like, Jesus, Alex is there. And like,
Mhm.
God, I hope Joseph. I don't know. My mind was going to bad places. And I was
Right,
just
right,
like,
right, right.
I would
Well,
never want to. Yeah.
I'll in the moment, I was just like, "Is he okay? Just tell me he's okay." And then, like,
I
I
texted
saw
you saying that he radioed in.
and they changed cameras to like the person talking to him, and then they said on the PA like that he was okay and that he was talking to them, and I was like, okay, like that sucks. Like it was not a fun thing to be there for, obviously,
Yeah.
but stuff
But
like that
you've seen him win 8
happens.
times, so.
I've seen him win 8 times. I can't be like, "Oh, man, I'm heartbroken." Like, no, it's
No,
okay.
girl.
And
Come
and
on.
also, um, this kind of stuff just happens in racing, and that's just kinda how his season has gone too. So, I've seen a lot of his success, so I can't be like, "Oh, I'm so mad about this." I'm
I
just glad he's okay, and that's what matters most.
I do
So
think there's
it's
like
okay.
there's some emotion to have seeing it in person. I just like
Mhm.
anytime I see my driver, maybe it's because Kyle Larson wrecks a lot, but anytime I see my drivers like even have a really bad wreck, I don't know. I don't get all worked up over it. Unless,
Mhm.
of course, if they get hurt, that's different.
Well,
But
this was a scary crash. I think
that was scary. Like
this is
I mean,
probably the scariest crash he's had outside of that Texas crash
right.
where he, like, broke a lot of
Yeah.
bones and stuff. Um, our friend Elizabeth Blackstock texted me and was like, "Hey, hope you're doing okay and everything." And
Well,
then she
seeing that
told
in
me
person
she
is a
was
lot.
at the Canadian Grand Prix,
Mhm.
ironically enough, same weekend when the Texas crash happened, and I guess she was on her
Mm,
phone,
that's
like, trying to
weird.
find updates.
Yeah.
So Joseph has now flipped on Canadian Grand Prix weekend twice, so interesting. Um,
Yeah.
but I shout out to everyone on, like, Blue Sky who were and Twitter who were, like, tweeting at me, posting at me, being like, "Hey, are you good?" Like, I'm all good, trust, but, like, I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
So Fox, when that wreck happened, they were about to cut to commercial. So they were
Yeah.
showing, the Fox media shoots where it's like the driver doing all these poses and stuff. Joseph was
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
hot.
yeah.
He was great. So they were about to play commercials, but instead of going to a commercial, they cut to footage of the track and Joseph is upside down sparking.
Yeah.
And for a moment, I'm thinking this is a replay of something.
Mhm.
And I'm like, when did this happen? Why are they showing this? Like, what kind of highlight reel is this, Fox? What is going on? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
but then I'm
yeah,
like, no, this is happening right now, and my jaw was dropped,
yeah,
like, because I'm like, how does that just happen? How do you just end up upside down?
yeah,
So crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing all right though, because again, seeing that in
yeah.
person, I just think that's a lot to take in.
Oh, it is, and
They
it
don't
took
do
me
that at Richmond Raceway.
so
I don't see stuff like that in person.
so it was a red flag, like, I had to, like, go for a walk. Like, I'm like, "I need to, like, reset my head for a minute." Like, it wasn't like the Indy 500 where it's like, you know, he had a mechanical failure. Like, this is like,
Yeah,
he
you was
just
ready
had
to
a
party after
scary
that.
ass crash.
Yeah.
So I told my friend, like, "I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go for a minute. I'm gonna go away." It took me, like, 20 laps to get back into the race. It's halfway. It's like
Mhm.
20 it took me, like, 20 laps, and that includes, like, the yellow. It took me a minute, but then once, like, they got going, Connor Daly, Pato Award had a really fun battle, like, I got back into it. It it was just, like it was a lot, but, like, I'm all good. It
Yeah.
happens, and
Yeah.
Joseph will bounce back. He's gonna find his luck again soon, and, before we talk about a couple of our other IndyCar things, or our last IndyCar thing, uh, I did meet Joseph again at the autograph session.
Yeah, tell me about
He
your
is
day. Just how was your
He's
day
so
at the track?
lovely. Uh, my friend and I got to the track right when the gates opened. Autograph session was an hour later. We got in line. Joseph and I had a little minute long chat. He said it was great to see me. Love that man.
He
Uh,
recognized you.
I told him I'll be at Milwaukee. That's my next IndyCar race, and he's like, "I hope I see you there." Um,
You're going to Milwaukee? Have you been there before?
I have not been to Milwaukee. I'm gonna go
I
with
didn't know you
Jackson.
did. Oh, you did tell me that. Okay.
I'm
How
like,
far
I've
away
told
from
you
that?
this.
How far away from you
So
is that?
I'm gonna go to meet Jackson in Chicago, and then I think Milwaukee's like an hour. So I'm gonna
Oh,
take
really? Oh, yeah, I guess
it's
Wisconsin. Yeah, okay.
yeah. I
I
don't know the
forget where
exact
Wisconsin
time.
is.
It's a little closer than Indy.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah,
Fun. I'm glad you can go to IndyCar races.
yeah. All the ovals are like
I have a
in my
nice
region,
3/4 mile oval just an hour away from my
just
house. It's
hanging
called
out.
Richmond Raceway. They actually had IndyCar races before. Really
Yeah.
cool track. They only have one NASCAR weekend now. They're really begging for more events. Oh
Mm-hmm.
gosh, that would be so cool if IndyCar went there.
Crazy. If only they had one
Crazy.
scheduled in 2020. Oh wait, they did. It
Oh
didn't
my
happen.
god, I'm literally begging. Gosh.
Well,
Remember this
I'm
year when we talked about the Mexico NASCAR fans, how they never got to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
NASCAR? Yeah. Again, I'm privileged.
So I want to cap off the IndyCar segment with a little slay of the week to the Firestone Firehawk. We were in
What did
line
that
for
girl do?
the autograph session, and the Firehawk's just kind of making his rounds through the crowd. saying hi to all the kids, giving high fives and everything. My friend is wearing my Pride IndyCar logo hat. She wanted the hat to wear. So I'm like, "Do you want to wear this?" And she's like, "Yeah." So she wore
Yeah.
that. And Firehawk walks up, gives me a high five, and turns to her, taps her hat, like just taps on the logo, and then does a big thumbs up.
Oh, shut up. I'm starting to tear up.
Right? That was so cute. Like I was kind of like just speechless standing there. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool.
Oh my
Thanks. Thanks,
god.
Firehawk. You approve."
Slay. I'm about to put firestones on my car. That's crazy. I'm literally crying right here.
Aw.
I'm
See,
serious.
like little moments like that. That was so sweet. I was just like, "Oh my god. We're
That
accepted
is
by
so sweet.
Firehawk."
Imagine if he would have said no, get out.
Boo.
Nah. Santino, who's the Firehawk? Santino's in the Firehawk suit.
But no,
God.
that was a highlight of the day. I'm like, "Aw, thank you, Firehawk."
Oh my gosh. That's slay.
Oh,
Next time I
and
see that, next time I see him on site, I'm giving him a heart. On
aw,
site,
he would
I'm
do
giving
it
that.
back too. Uh, we're about to talk about Arrow McLaren. Uh, if you go to the Arrow McLaren socials, there was a moment at the autograph session where a fan brought this like big poster that was like saying like Nolan Siegel's hot or something. Some fan brought it, and she had all the drivers sign it. Uh, it gets to I'm at the autograph session in line. I know there's a lot to process.
What?
Pato Award
I
is
wasn't
signing it.
listening. What?
Pato Award is signing this thing that this fan brought, and I'm standing there. Pato stands up and is like, "Hey, Nolan," and lifts it up and shows Nolan. Um, and like no one turns around but looks besides Nolan Siegel. Everyone's just used to Pato yelling, probably. It's on McLaren socials if you want to watch the clip. It's really funny.
So the
Um,
sign said Nolan Siegel is hot.
something like that.
That's cute.
Yeah. And
That's-
Nolan starts blushing. It was really cute.
my
And
God, I love those boys so much. Oh my
uh,
gosh.
Graham Rahal turns to him and is like, "You're blushing. Have you just never had this happen to you before?" And he's like, "No." It was cute. Like I'm literally about to talk to Joseph and this happens. I'm just like, that's funny. Anyway, Arrow McLaren is reportedly maintaining its driver lineup of Pato Award, Nolan Siegel, and Christian Lundgaard.
Breaking news.
Breaking
Good
news.
Lord. I did not see this coming. It's about time.
And you know what? It gets better. They also made a Pride post, joining 2311 as teams that have celebrated Pride. Arrow McLaren.
Nice. That's cool.
Very cool. So, very little cute little segment here on Arrow McLaren. But yeah, big news that if that's true, they're going to keep their 3 drivers. We'll see if they can make it through a full 2026 season too.
I understand the criticism for Nolan Siegel, but let him cook.
Yeah.
He's the rookie. He's new to a lot of these
And
tracks. I don't know.
mind you, Nolan was a lap down at the end of that race and was in front of Pato on one of the last restarts. And Pato said it after the race that Nolan was sleeping and didn't really let him get up to Kirkwood on the restart. So, or Dixon and Kirkwood. So found that interesting. I'm sure that was
Yeah,
an
I
interesting
thought
team meeting.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be ready to talk about Nolan and his performance a little bit later because next year's going to be a big year for him. I
Yeah,
mean, they're giving him a second chance at life when they didn't even let most of their drivers. They're probably salty they let Malukas get away, but
probably.
that was their own damn fault.
Well, Zach, we're an hour into the episode. You still want to talk about F1?
I think we need to talk about F1 because a lot happened yesterday.
Well, stick with the McLaren theme.
So, McLaren, they weren't dominating yesterday. Mercedes had the car yesterday. We'll talk about them in a minute. But the Lando Norris versus Oscar Piastri battle that we have been hyping up, everyone's been hyping up. They're 1-2 in the championship. Kind of came to I wouldn't say a boiling point, but our first major controversy with them for the season happened because they were battling for fourth. I believe it was Lando trying to get by Piastri. It was a very heated battle. And Norris, I think he made the move going into the final hairpin at the Canada racetrack. And Piastri crossed him over, dragged him down the straightaway, beat him into the last chicane. And then Lando got another run on Piastri down the front stretch, and Lando was going for the inside of turn one.
Mm-hmm.
Thought he kind of had a gap, didn't really. Piastri didn't even like Piastri did not really ever leave the gap open. It's just Lando was being really opportunistic. Lando basically got into the grass and did what NASCAR used to do all those years. As soon as they hit the grass, the wing dug in and Lando wrecked. Like it happened so quick. Like it was
Yeah.
kind of violent actually. Like the way his
Mm.
wing got ripped off. Oscar's car was fine. Lando was he DNF'd, and the race had like what 4 to go. The the race ended because they didn't have time to get the lap cars brought around the field, which give Lewis Hamilton his championship back, by the way, because that didn't stop you on Abu Dhabi that one year. But anyways, yeah. So we saw an incident between these two. How do you feel about that, Alex? Because Piastri still got like what now a 22-point lead over Norris after his DNF.
I still think Oscar is just in Lando's head, and I think it's just going to keep getting
Especially
more
now.
and more. Yeah.
Oh
It's now 22-point difference.
God!
Maybe I'm misreading it, but
Imagine if they both wrecked.
I don't think Oscar's going to be flustered by Lando. I think Lando's going to keep trying really hard because there's more expectations on Lando, and I think he has higher expectations for himself, while Oscar's just kind of doing what he does.
And who made the mistake yesterday? I don't know if you've even seen the clip, but it was Norris, and Norris even admitted that himself, like on the radio
Yeah.
afterwards. Like he made a huge mistake yesterday. Piastri did nothing wrong. He raced his teammate cleanly for the championship. He's not just going to let him by. It's late in the race. It's for driver championship points. Piastri has not made a single step wrong this season, and Norris has just had all these negative little moments. So
Yeah.
find that really, really interesting. What did you just erase off the dock?
Why are you bringing that up? Talk about Mercedes winning with George Russell.
I don't remember what it was. What if I wanted to talk about it? Anyways, Mercedes won with George Russell. They got the pole. Double podium. Kimi Antonelli finished third, got his very first career F1 podium. That was really cool. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I didn't follow the race much this weekend, but I guess Mercedes just had the faster car. There's a lot of straightaways at Canada. It's like very low downforce. So
yeah,
I don't know. So Max Verstappen finished second. Interestingly enough, that keeps him close in the drivers' championship. He's still third, not that far behind Lando. And Mercedes, they're now second in the constructors standings, ahead of Ferrari. So that's something interesting to follow. Good weekend for them. George Russell, this is his third or fourth career win at this point. So
something like that.
He's won a few.
So sticking with F1, they scheduled the Canadian Grand Prix at the same time as the 2026 Indianapolis 500. This sucks.
Ooh.
Don't like that.
I made a tweet saying that F1 mistaked being bigger than IndyCar for being bigger than the Indy 500. And I had a lot of mad people in my comments saying that's not true. You don't know how big F1 is. And listen, I guess we are biased because we're Americans and we're IndyCar fans, but like it's the Indy 500. The Indy 500 has been there long before F1, long before Grand Prix racing.
Well, F1 is in their 75th season, while the Indy 500 is entering its 110th.
I just think it's disrespectful. Like
it is disrespectful.
You don't show up to France and hold your F1 race the same weekend as Le Mans. It's just, what are you doing? Because I feel like you're being disrespectful to these North American fans. You're making them have to make a choice.
And that's exactly what it is. They want Americans to pick a choice, and they want them to be the choice. And I feel like if you actually want to grow, you'd want to have synergy, and you had that with the Monaco race that morning. But now you're not going to have that.
NASCAR fans were watching the Monaco race.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. You're going to lose a whole bunch of your viewer base who watch Monaco every year just for Motorsports Christmas, as people called it. And having it be the Canadian Grand Prix is just weird because it's also a North American race. Why are they doing this? I just don't.
Because that's the worst part of it. Not only geographically is it somewhat close to Indy, but the time that you're going to have that race, it's the exact same time. Like if it was somewhere in Europe, fine, because the race would still be before Indy, right? Because my main frustration is I don't know if F1's actually going to pay the price for this because F1 is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not underselling how big F1 is. I'm just saying that F1 is underselling how big the Indy 500 is. And I hope they get humbled. I just don't know if they will.
Well,
I'm
two
concerned about it.
things. One, apparently this isn't going to happen every year. It had to do with like when Memorial Day weekend is why this happened. And I guess some years they're going to have an off weekend on Memorial Day weekend in the US. We'll see if that actually happens. But my other thing with this is that if you wanted to race on Memorial Day weekend in North America, I feel like you could have done Miami on like the Saturday night. And I pushed that a few weeks ago
That would
when
have been
this was like
cool.
rumored or we were talking about Miami. I think that would have been a cool replacement instead of Canada, especially because
Oh, yeah.
Canada might still be kind of cool in May.
Eh, no, because they've raced in Canada in May, or at least like I think they used to race Canada like early June. So I don't think the weather's a big deal, but it's just I don't. I think F1 they're being foolish making this choice. And again, they might have gotten a because they're trying to make the schedule more efficient. Like, so this race is not that far away from the Miami race, so the
But
teams don't
it's
have to
there's a
travel.
3 week. I think there's a 2 or 3 week gap between
Wait, then what the
Miami
hell are we doing then?
and Canada.
This is intentional. Then there's no way this isn't
Yes,
intentional.
it's
This is
intentional.
stupid.
I don't get
And
it.
again, I don't know if they're gonna pay the price for this. They should. They should be humbled. You don't
Yeah.
mess with the Indy 500. It's the Indy 500. Indy 500 and Le Mans. Like, they are two of the oldest, most prestigious races in the world. Like, yeah, you're F1, but that doesn't. I don't. What do you?
Yeah.
The whole thing just sours my. It makes me sour.
Yeah.
It really just makes
Well,
me sour.
Zach, 24-hour Le Mans happened. I've never watched this race. Did you watch parts of it?
I mean, I had it on. I
This
have
is a
trouble
race I
following the
want to check
race.
out one year.
Well, when Ford brings their hypercar to Le Mans in
Mhm.
2027, I will be staying up the entire 24 hours because they're going to beat Ferrari's ass. Because Ferrari is on a streak right now. They just won their third Le Mans in a row. I believe
Mhm.
three. Might have been four. I think it's three in a row. With their third different like team car. It was the number 83 AF course. I don't know if it's like it's not a customer team, but it's kind of like their Wood Brothers Racing, I think, to Penske. I
Okay.
think that's what it's kind of like. I don't know because it's not Ferrari AF course. It's just AF course, whatever.
Mhm.
It included a lineup with former F1 driver Robert Kubica. The other two I honestly don't know about. So it was Phil Hansen and Yifei he's from Hong Kong. I definitely mispronounced his name. I apologize, but um, so Ferrari got their third straight win. Penske Porsche, we're Penske fans. They got second to break up the Ferrari podium because Ferrari they just had class of the field, but Porsche really they challenged them. They finished 14 seconds behind with the, Lawrence Van Thor, who won the Rolex this year, the Rolex 24 at Daytona. He was one spot away from sweeping both Daytona and Le Mans in the same year, and
That would have been cool.
just thought that was really cool to bring up because that would have been really cool and good to see Penske and Porsche bring the fight to Ferrari. One thing I saw a lot this weekend is there's just a lot of criticism about the BOP. If you're wondering what sports car fans, how NASCAR fans complain, Alex. Sports
Mhm.
car racing fans, they complain about the balance of performance, the BOP, because they have to. It's like a video game, and there's patch notes. They have to balance the cars out since they're all so different, which I think is a cool thing. It lets all these different cars race, but Toyota this weekend. Toyota was complaining about the balance of performance because they were slow, and Toyota just a few years ago were winning every single year. Um, so they're frustrated. Fans are frustrated. Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
see much Cadillac this weekend, even though Cadillac won the pole
Hmm.
for Le Mans. Interesting. I don't know
And
who won the GT class, to be honest
you
with you.
have a note here that the other Ferrari or another Ferrari
Yeah,
disqualified.
the number 50, who I don't even know who was in that car. They finished fourth, but apparently they got disqualified. Something with the rear wing. I saw
Hmm.
that on Twitter. So yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we see
Well,
another little tidbit in the disqualification uh, trend that we've been seeing in motorsports lately. feel like we've been
Well,
seeing it a lot.
since you went through that relatively quickly, we can talk about the thing I removed from the doc
Yeah,
real
what
quick.
was it?
Denny Hamlin not
Oh,
racing Mexico
okay.
City. That's all it was.
I
Uh,
'cause
did
I couldn't remember what it was, so it was frustrating me.
yeah? Did you have any opinions on him getting a waiver? And
So,
because if Kyle Larson missed a 600 by like 2
okay.
seconds, he was not getting a waiver. So I feel like it's a
So
little bit of controversy.
in the timeline where NASCAR didn't care about Kyle Larson running the Indy 500, this is a non-story, right?
Yeah.
It's a non-story. Whatever.
And for the record, we both think this is a good call
Yeah.
and he should have gotten a waiver.
I'm never having kids, but if I for some reason chose to have a kid, if I have a kid, I'm not traveling to out of the country to race my race car for some regular season points. I'm not doing that. That's not
Yeah.
happening. Okay? Sorry. I
And he's not good at road
100%
courses. Like
I
I'm fine.
100% understand Denny Hamlin, and I think this is one of the benefits of NASCAR's playoff system. It lets Denny Hamlin not have to go through all that when his kid was just born, right?
Yeah.
I love that. I just so then what am I trying to say? Like I'm still
It
just
is a
frustrated.
little weird that the kid was born, I believe, the day they announced he wasn't going to run. It was, I think the baby was born on the Wednesday. And then
Right.
he said, I'm not going to be going. And there were a lot of weird men mad about that. Again, I think it's perfectly fine and he
Yeah.
should do this. But at the same time, NASCAR gave Kyle Larson hell for doing a cool thing that benefited the sport.
That's just
So it's just
I
a
hate this whole
weird,
waiver thing.
yeah.
Like I hate how it's all such a big conversation and then now we're talking about it because Denny Hamlin wants to take the weekend off because his kid was just
It's
born.
basically family leave. Like it's fine.
Like I
But
just
they've made it
such a
such a
drama.
news topic.
It's a
Yeah.
soap opera. Like because of the Larson thing. It's just so frustrating to me because
I feel like it needs to be streamlined so it's not like a point of
well,
discussion.
they try to do that this year, but it's still just I don't know. It's like
It's more
you can take
complicated,
off
I
for
think.
medical and family and then oh, but running the Indy 500? Nope. Nope. That's not a personal big deal to not saying that's on the same level as having a kid because it's not.
No.
But
No, but it's still
I'm not
beneficial
trying
to
to say that.
NASCAR.
It's just
No.
I don't know. It just seems
It's weird. Weird
they
situation.
were so ready to take Kyle Larson out of the championship picture last year. They were so ready.
They
I
thought about it for like 2-3 weeks, right?
I'm over this whole waiver thing.
Yeah.
Get rid of the
Well,
playoffs.
fantasy, NASCAR is
Shoot, I
going to
keep forgetting to
Pocono.
prepare for fantasy. God. I keep
Uh,
forgetting. No.
You had the win with Shane Van Gisbergen, and I had Tyler Reddick, who was like a non-factor. We are now tied. It is tied in fantasy. So, how's this work, Zach? You came up with this format.
We're
Who
tied
goes
where?
in
NASCAR?
NASCAR?
Shoot. It's whoever's losing. So don't I have more wins? No, you have a lot of wins too.
Yeah,
Aren't we
I
like
didn't think about figuring this out before we record.
well, Alexander. Ugh. How many? So I won with Kyle Larson at Homestead, and I won with SVG at Mexico. Duh.
Hmm.
Did you? And you won with Larson twice, right? So
That
are we
sounds
tied
right.
on that?
I think
Uh,
so.
God,
Should we do rock paper scissors?
no, because that's stupid.
Well, we're way past time. We gotta go.
Oh my God, Alex. Okay, I wish I could pause the recording, but I can't. Okay, we can. Well, you didn't let me know about this before.
I didn't
We're
even
having our
realize it
first
until right
fight on
now.
air.
It's
Um,
fine.
well, I mean, I wasn't prepared for a fantasy anyway, so I guess
I didn't realize we were tied until I said it out
I
loud.
feel like I have a
So,
lot of second place finishes and stuff this year because that's the next
can
tiebreaker for
I go
title and win.
first because I'm losing IndyCar? Thus,
No,
you are
that's not.
leading both.
Hold on, that's not why I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to let you go first because I'm pretty sure I win the tiebreaker because I think I have a bunch of second and third place finishes. I've been on top
Okay.
of it this year, so
Okay.
and I just won. So sure, I'll let you pick first.
Aw, you're such a good guy. Aw, so sweet.
Just do it.
So, okay. I'm gonna go with Ryan Blaney.
Oh, okay, good. Because I was going to pick Denny Hamlin, so I don't care
I
about that
thought about
anymore.
it, but I was like,
So
oh,
it didn't
maybe.
matter. It didn't matter because I wasn't planning to pick Ryan Blaney either.
Yeah.
So okay.
Blaney's
So
going to
it
be in
didn't
the
matter
top
if you
5
picked
again.
first.
Yeah.
Well, Hamlin has been on a roll, so yeah.
Was Larson on your mind at all?
Girl,
He's
I'll
out to
pick.
lunch right now. I ain't picking him
He's
until like he wins again.
he might show up and win Pocono, but Denny's on it right now. Even Blaney's on it. Hocevar and Byron have been fast, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be interested to see if they show up with speed
Yeah.
at Pocono. Hocevar especially, but he might have some other problems to deal with in that 47
Yeah.
car.
Well,
I hope so.
apologies for the fantasy mishap. I filled this out like at 1 a.m. on the drive back. I was not driving.
I don't want to
So
hear it.
excuses. Sorry. IndyCar is racing again this week at Road America. For Gateway, you got the point with Malukas P12, and I had Joseph, who finished 25th. It's 11-6. You are kind of pulling away here.
Having a
But
good season.
I'm going to make it easy. Alex Palou, your turn.
Will Power won this race last year. What? Yeah, I'm looking at the results of last year. Penske got a 1-2-3 last year. What? What world were we living in? What?
Last year?
They got a 1-2-3 at Road America last year. Sunday,
That
June
didn't
9th,
happen this year.
2024.
That's
That
not
ain't
happening this year.
And guess who finished fourth? Palou. Guess who finished fifth in that race?
Kirkwood?
Kyle Kirkwood.
No way.
Kirkwood. I'm picking Kirkwood. I'm picking Kirkwood.
Easy.
Easy.
Wow.
IndyCar fantasy is easy this year.
That's crazy. Okay. Wow. I would not have thought that.
And guess who my next pick would have been? Colton Herta, who finished 7th, because I think he's going to be fast, or 6th. I think he's going to be fast too. Remember last year, that was when Newgarden got into Herta on a restart or something. I remember that.
Oh, yeah. And Colton was mad. I remember
Herta
that.
would have been a good pick, but Kirkwood. I'm picking Kirkwood for the meme.
Mm.
Palou's going to win anyways. It doesn't matter what I pick. I could pick Louis Foster. It doesn't matter. Like, Palou's going to win. He might not, though. I don't know. He's had 2. He's been off his horse since the Indy 500 win. He hasn't been.
But I think he might get back on it. We're going back to like what he knows best, and that's the road courses.
And he was really good at Road America. I remember his first year in IndyCar in a Dale Coyne car, I believe. He was really good at Road America. Yep. So that's so funny.
That was so funny. Let's wrap this episode up. We have a kind comment from Josh Burns on YouTube. Said he's an ally and was a first-time listener last week. He found us because of the 2311 box opening video.
Oh.
It's a great podcast. He liked and subscribed. Thanks for checking out the pod, Josh, and hopefully you're sticking around.
Thank you so much, Josh. That's such a nice comment.
Yeah.
Glad we're reaching the people.
If you'd like, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/gayracingpod. You can contribute to the discussion throughout the episode. As we said earlier, you can get access to the Pride Month guest episodes for $5 a month. You can be part of the discussion in the episode for $2 a month. And consider giving us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Consider liking and subscribing on YouTube. And follow us on social media at Gay Racing Pod on Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And follow Zach and I at Dreamy Zach Racing and at New Gaden on Blue Sky and Twitter.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Yay me. So next week, NASCAR's at Pocono. So NASCAR's at Pocono before we have another set of wildcard races. We'll have a super speedway and then 2 road courses after that.
Yeah.
So interesting. And then IndyCar's going to Road America. They have Mid Ohio coming up too. Don't they race there 4th of July weekend?
I think Mid Ohio is 4th of July.
Yeah.
Then you got Iowa, Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did not go to Dominion Raceway this weekend. Rick Allen was commentating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to check out the highlights for that. I was trying to think if there's anything racing related we missed, but I don't know. I don't know where F1's going. I don't care. But yeah, So thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. Again, make sure you check out that Ryan Hines episode if that should already be out. Did I say his name right? Yeah, Ryan Hines. Yeah. Check out that Ryan Hines
Nate Stewart episode.
Nate Stewart episode. We have another one coming out on Patreon later this week with another really cool guest. So yeah, we'll see you guys next time from the Gay Racing Podcast. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.